Well, welcome everyone. My name is Teresa Pfeffer, and I'm a good friend of Lorraine Pursell. I have been following Lorraine since my daughter Calissa, who's now 14, was 3. I had read in the newspaper, and some of you have probably shown up here because of the newspaper article, that she was hosting this wonderful opportunity to design the family you wish to have. And I thought, she's 3, and I need that help. So I spent an entire day getting to know Lorraine, and I've been close to her ever since. She's a wonderful mentor, and I know that each and every one of you will be happy when you leave here that you came tonight and spent your evening away from your family and all the other obligations to experience her heart in parenting and mentoring you. So pat yourself on the back for being here, because it takes a lot, and as you can see, it's the people that invest in their children and in their home that have the best outcome. Yeah, income and outcome. Either way. So I'm going to read to you a little bit about Lorraine so that you understand her background. Lorraine Pursell, once a clueless single mom, I can't believe it, but yes, a clueless single mom, Lorraine Pursell, MA, BCET, now coaches parents, kids, couples, families, and individuals into fulfilling, lasting relationships and meaningful lives. She's been doing this since 1995. Where are we? 2014? I'd say she's got some experience. Her plan, truth message, comes through video, radio, writing, private practice, and speaking. Lorraine's master's is in marriage, family, and child counseling. She is a board-certified educational therapist and author of Affirmations for Kids and Parents, CD and book programs in 4 versions. The 12 Secrets to Safe and Happy and Confident Kids, which I'm a part of, and I can vouch how amazing it is. It's a coaching program that's amazing, yes. And a Positive Mental Note column for the Williston Herald. She is a collaborative author in the Experts Success Solution, Volume 2, available July 2014, Morgan James Publisher, New York. And you'll be able to have all the contact information that you need to be in contact with Lorraine Pursell. So without any more waiting time, let's give a hand for Lorraine Pursell.
Thanks, Teresa. Thanks, Cindy. Hi, everybody. Welcome. I think I'm going to put this little thing down here. So I'm so glad that you made it out tonight. And this little handy sheet, I'm going to hold on to it. I wrote everything out for you. Mostly it's to keep me on track, because I tend to go everywhere when I'm talking. So in my eyes, you are a star parent just for showing up tonight. So if I had a gold star, I would put it on each one of your chests, okay? And as I'm going through, this is actually the synopsis of my 12 Secrets to Safe, Happy, and Confident Kids year-long coaching program. So you're getting all 12 secrets tonight. And I want to get through this really quickly, but I wrote them all out for you so you would have them with plenty of time to go over it. And plus, Marigold is filming, and hopefully we'll have it posted on the Valencia website, and then you can view it anytime you like. So, but this is going to be really fun tonight, because what I want you to do is recognize all the things you're already doing, okay? Because you're already doing so many of these things. There just might need to be a few things that you're going to ratchet up a little bit, or get a little bit more involved in, but mostly it's just going to heighten your awareness. And once you're aware, that's when things start breaking loose. Has anybody recognized that before? When you start to get aware that there's something that you need to do, then all of a sudden, So what I want to say is that there are 4 secrets with 3 pillars underneath each secret. So there's a total of 12 altogether. So when I said there were 4 secrets, there really are 4 secrets, and then there are 3 components underneath each of those secrets. So there's a total of 12. But I didn't want to overwhelm you with 12. But if you just remember the 4 main bodies, then we're good. But before we go on, is it okay if I tell you just a little bit more about myself? Now, Teresa said all these wonderful things about me. I have my master's in marriage, family, and child counseling. I'm a board-certified educational therapist, and I've been at this for almost 20 years. But I haven't always been this successful. And it all happened for me when my son was 4. And I found myself yelling uncontrollably at him. I couldn't stop. I just went on and on and on, and I'm not going to ask you to raise your hands who has ever been in that same situation, but I couldn't stop. And he had left the room, and I was still yelling. And his little head was like peeking around the corner of the hallway, and once I catch eye contact, he'd hide again to protect himself. But he loved me so much, he couldn't be away from me, and it broke my heart. It broke my heart. And when I finally woke up, you know what I mean, woke up? Like, what are you doing? Okay, you can stop now. I went to him and I kneeled down by him and I said, Mark, how are you feeling right now? And he said, I feel afraid of you. And I said, what are you afraid of? And he said, I'm afraid of you because I don't know what you're going to do. And when he said that, what he said was how I felt my entire childhood growing up. I didn't know what my mom or dad were going to be. Were they going to be the nice parent, or were they going to be the mean parent? Were they going to be the sweet parent or the unreasonable parent? I had no idea. And I had become my mother, even though I had vowed that I wouldn't be. So at that moment, I said, I'm going to do whatever it takes. I'm going to be the best parent I can be. So I went to counseling and more counseling and more counseling and more counseling and more counseling, because I was going to junior college at the time, and you know, they have all these free counseling because all these interns are trying to get their hours, right? So I got plenty counseling. And then I said, you know, I'd like to maybe do this myself. So fast forward 12 years, my son and I are in the dining room in Rio Del Mar. This is where I used to live. This is my hometown. And we had just finished our homework. I was in my master's program, and I was sitting in the chair, and and I looked up at him and I said, Mark, we've really figured this parent-child thing out. And he said, yeah. And I said, you know, I'd love to write a book someday and help other parents figure out what there is, because who knows? And he goes, I'd like to help you write that book. And we've gone on to have a great relationship. And that's what I want for you, is to have that. You know, we don't go through this parenting thing just to have them leave at 18 and only give us obligatory visits at holidays, right? And they're like going, well, do we really want to go see mom? So the things I'm going to tell you tonight are the things that will make them want to be with you when they no longer have to be. Okay, that's like the cherry. Safe, happy, confident kids. But the cherry is to have them want to be with you when they don't have to be anymore. They want to be with you. That's what I want for you. So you ready? All right. So pillar 1, the 3 greatest gifts I can give my child. Out of all the gifts in the world, there are 3 that are the greatest gifts you can give your child. The first one is quality time. And I don't care how old your child is. I don't care if they're a teenager. I don't care if they're 25 or 30 or 40. What they want from you more than anything is quality time. One-on-one time in that presence. So remember that they will leave. Sometimes right now it doesn't seem like they're going to leave. But they will leave. And so utilize that time with them. Utilize that time with them. We've got a really young one here. Hi, welcome. So you're starting really early. That's great. So remember, they will leave, and these annoying times are going to go away. But there are a couple of things that you can do to really capitalize on that quality time. First thing is to ask them, what would you like to do with me? And it's not stuff with money. In fact, things with money aren't as important as things without money, because we're talking about quality time. Often when money and things and attractions are involved, there isn't that interaction, right? Like the movie, while you're staring at the movie. A concert, you're in the concert. Sure, you have the experience, but it might just be sitting and talking. It might be playing a board game. So you're interacting. The next thing is something that I call stop, drop, and talk. Do you guys know that fire drill where you get caught on fire, you're supposed to stop, drop, and roll? Do you guys remember that? This is stop, drop, and talk. Your child comes up to you, what you need to do is stop what you're doing, drop what you're doing, and turn to them and talk to them. And if you can't right now, say, oh, honey, I'm right in the middle of this. I'll be with you in 5 minutes. Give them a timer so they can help you be on time, because most important is to keep your promise. And say, but before you go, tell me what it's about so I can remember, because I really want to know. So you're engaging with them so that they feel that it's important to you, that they have something to tell you. Super, 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 because what are we building here? Them being able to come to you when they're a teenager, that they can talk to you about anything. Is it Legos? Is it dinosaurs? Is it cats? I don't care. You just come up with it. Is it Tonka trucks? Do you want me to, because remember, they will leave. They will leave. You're going to wish you capitalized on all that time. So remember, as I go through these, I want you to put a circle by every one that you're already doing, okay? Because you're going to find out that there's more here than you realize that you're already doing. So this is I want to encourage you and give you hope tonight. Okay, so all the things you're already doing to be the kind of parent that will produce a safe, happy, and confident child. Okay, the next is I give my child the gift of responsibility. Oh boy, this one is something, it's like a dinosaur skill, I feel. Parents are doing for their kids what they can do for themselves, and I really caution you against that. Do not do for your child what they can do for themselves. And when they show an inspiration to want to do something, that's when you even if it's cutting carrots with a knife. Don't give them the sharpest knife in the kitchen, but you're right there, right? But you're not like right there. You're right there if there's an accident. But that little Band-Aid, that little nick is going to be so worth it for what they're going to learn, and the independence they're going to learn, and the self-sufficiency they're going to learn. So you let them. And then we go into depth in the 12 Secrets program on how to make that happen. But just remember, when your child is inspired, if they're old enough to do their laundry, if they show an interest, you show them. Even if there's a step stool and you know, okay, here we climb up. Okay, so you set the knob like this and you go like this. Okay, so you have pink clothes. So what? They're going to learn how to do their laundry. All right. And family contributions. Okay. When I was a young wife, I was childless at that time, and I was kind of Martha Stewart, right? I was, everything was perfect in my house, and of course I had all these opinions about kids, and we were going to go visit this really prominent woman who had 6 kids. Her husband was a pilot, and so I was thinking that her house was going to be just wonderful and all this glorious stuff. And we showed up, and it was kind of a shambles. The drapes were closed. There were dishes in the sink. And I was just like, gosh, didn't she know I was coming? And she sat down at the table with my ex-husband and I, and she says, oh, please pardon the mess. She goes, it's so much easier if I do it myself. But if I do it myself, my kids don't learn how to contribute to the family, that they're important. She goes, even my 2-year-old, his job is to open the curtains in the morning. And if he doesn't open the curtains in the morning, the curtains don't get opened. And the curtains weren't opened when we showed up. So that was just really an indelible lesson to me. So that was the Laura story. And remember that privileges are earned and not given. Especially now in 2014 and a half, we are so busy and we feel so guilty for being so busy that we kind of just tend to give our kids things. It's a big mistake. Big mistake. They need to earn their privileges. And again, in the 12 Secrets program, we go into that in depth on how to make that happen. But just remember, privileges are earned and not given. Nobody's going to go up to them on the street and say, oh, you're so cute. Here's a $20 bill. Right? So if they want a $20 bill, they need to do something. They need to do it well. They need to do it without attitude. They need to do it with graciousness. So they learn all of that in our home. All right. And the third greatest gift that we can give to our kids is to let go. The biggest thing that kids report to me is that they want their parents to believe in them, they want them to trust them, and they want them to give them room. They're like, that's why they want to run away, right? So if we can let go of them and let them experiment with who they are while they're under our roof, they're going to be less likely to boomerang when they're out on their own, when they're in college. So now is the time to let them experiment with their personalities, who they are, what they like, what they don't like. And your child really needs to learn mastery and independence. There's so many things. The list of everything that they need to know by the time they leave when they're 18 is massive. It's frightening. You know, it makes us want to get busy. And by the way, I learned a lot of this from my parent mentor. When my son turned 14, I was like, oh no. Oh no. So I hired a parent mentor, and that's why I decided I wanted to be a parent mentor, because it made such a difference. When I couldn't think straight because I was so worried, I was already having empty nest. Oh, my son, he's 14, he's going to leave in 4 years. Oh. All right, 4 years, please. I mean, that was me. But so she gave me these guidelines so that I could do the right parent thing, which is not going to be the popular thing for your kids, but it's what they need at the very end of the day. And my son, when he left for college, he called me on the phone. He said, Mom, thank you so much for not letting me walk all over you when I was a teen. He called me and he told me that. So my promise to you is that if you do the right parent thing, which isn't the popular parent thing, but it's the right parent thing, that's what your child is going to turn around and be able to say to you later. So you guys getting some circles on the things that you're already doing here? Remember, give yourself the credit for the things you're already doing. Okay, the second pillar. I listen, hear, and act on my intuition. I listen to my child, they are able to hear me, and I act on my intuition. So listen so that your child feels heard. This is massive. We think we're listening to our children, but if you check in with them and find out, say, how would you like me to hear you? How would it be that when I'm listening to you, you feel that I'm really hearing you? And listen to what they tell you, and then you actually do that. If we think we're hearing them, but it's not really registering with them, it kind of doesn't make any difference, does it? So it's, how do they need to be heard? And who really listens to you? Do you have a friend who really listens to you? If you do, you know what that feels like, and that's what we want to give our kids, so that they really feel heard. Because again, you're laying seeds for when they're older, so that they can come to you and talk to you when it really counts, and you don't want them going off and talking to somebody else. You don't want them being raised by their peers, or YouTube, or Facebook, or Snapchat, right? So what is it? How can you create that now so that they know they can come to you and talk? So I help my child hear me the first time I speak. This is one of my biggest parenting complaints, that I have to repeat myself and nag and nag and nag and nag and nag. So the way you can set it up so that they can hear you the first time you speak is that you prepare it. And you ask them what they need for their success to be able to do this. So, honey, what do you need to be able to get out of the door on time in the morning? In fact, 10 minutes early. How can we set this up for you so this can happen? And any one of these things you can ask them, and they will tell you exactly what they need. And then you start implementing. They have fabulous ideas. Fabulous ideas. And then you do it too. If it's, oh, get all our stuff, because then they're excited because you brought them into it. That's what I call buy-in. They've now got buy-in. So, oh, we'll get all our stuff by the door. Great. So now you participate because you want to encourage this kind of, inspired thought from them. Oh, let's get our stuff out in the car the night ahead. Great. So let's all do it as a family. Let's all get our stuff out in the car. So you want to capitalize on that inspiration. And most importantly, if we want our kids to hear their own inner voice, I cannot tell you how important this is for that safe piece, for safe, happy, and confident. When we do these things and they learn to hear their own inner voice, golden, golden. That's what's going to keep them out of trouble when they're on the street and you're not there and there's some stranger. Or there's some peer thing going on that's not feeling right, but they don't really know how to tune into that thing. We want them to trust their intuition. And you might practice it by going, which way should we go to school this morning? That way or that way? And whatever way they say, you go that way. Because you want to start just building on that, building on their confidence. Ask them, I used to drag my son over to the kitchen stove while I was making soup. And I knew what kind of spices to put in the soup. But I'd go, Mark, can you come here please? And I'd stand there. He'd come over. Which spices do you think I should put in the soup tonight? And he'd go, oh, maybe try that one, and that one. Great, thank you. So I'd put them in and we'd experiment. But do you hear, I asked his opinion and I did it. Confidence building. Okay, they need to feel very confident in their own voice, their own inner gut, that what they say is going to matter, that what they say is important. Okay, now this one I love. I tap my inner Sherlock Holmes. How many of you here know who Sherlock Holmes is? Okay, I just loved reading those books. I just loved it because he utilized the street urchins, the little orphans that he would pay a penny and they'd run around and nobody would pay any attention to them and they'd be finding out all the evidence. The other thing that he did was he trusted his intuition. So I want to ask you, who do you know? Because no matter what your political affiliation, Hillary was right. It does take a village. It takes a village to raise children. So who do you know that can be co-parent with you, that can be a trusted aunt, a trusted uncle, somebody that is, a neighbor that you really like? Who else can you incorporate into your family to spend time with your child? Because they're going to listen to them probably a little bit more than they're going to listen to you. And then befriend their friends. If you're the place where everyone comes to do homework and you're out $1,000 for pizza by the end of their school career, so what? It was happening at your house, right? You got to be there and you got to be the influencer. How amazing is that? And you became this hero to all these other working moms and dads, right? So, be that place where everyone wants to come to. And then you get to be a fly on the wall. And also, some of these kids might not have the advantage of having parents like you who are this involved or are able to be this involved. So you might be able to be that parent that when they're at a critical moment, they might be able to talk to you when they're not able to talk to their parents. This is huge. Pillar number 3. I love this one. Take parenting personally. This is one of my favorite topics because parenting is all about reparenting. Who here knows what I mean when I say reparenting? Reparenting, okay, this is what I think parenting is all about. We have kids so we can grow. It's not about the kids, it's about us. And that's why I call my company Parent Evolution, because it's all about us evolving. Everything that is hidden will come up in your psyche when you are raising your children. That's why at 4 years old, I was screaming at my son. And why when I went to him, I was experiencing what I felt at that age, because they will bring up everything that is hidden within us for us to examine so that we can heal, so that we can be better parents and better people actually. But actually it's really so that we can be better people. Because as we heal, we're able to be more open and more vulnerable to our kids, and that's where the growth is. So whatever is down in there, it ain't gonna hide. It ain't gonna hide. So I love this reparenting. I have been on a reparenting mission personally. Now I have grandchildren. I'm still going through it with my grandkids, okay? It does not end. It does not end. Okay, so your child is actually telepathic. That's why it's so important that you feel good. That you feel good. No matter what you can do to feel good, you have to feel good. There are some schools of thought, and I tend to agree with it, that they say, well, why are childhood diseases going on? Why do young children have bad things happen to them? And there is a school of thought that says it's because of the fears of the parents, the fears of the grandparents, the fears of the aunts and the uncles, that just create that vibration, and then it attracts, because your child is telepathic. They pick up on that and then they attract it to themselves. And I really do believe this, because if you're not happy, your child's not going to be happy. So what does it take for you to be happy? Find out what that is and do it. Find the time, make the time to do it. Because if you don't, it's a disaster. We got to keep you happy. What's going to happen to you if you, for doing so much for everybody else, doing everyone's laundry, doing everyone's dishes, cleaning up the house after everybody else, and are, flat in bed with a chronic illness because you're so exhausted, then what's going to happen to your kids? So you must take care of you so you can take care of your family. In a big way, you need to put yourself first. Yeah, if your kid needs to eat, yeah, go feed them. But they also can find their way to the food unless they're a little one like this one in the back here. That's when it's all about them. But please take care of you. The parents I work with are exhausted. I don't want you to be exhausted. I want you to take care of you. And if you feel like I'm talking right to you, I'm talking right to you. Find those things that give you joy. Do you like to paint? I remember my mom kicking us all out of the house, and she would sit there. She goes, I'll see you at lunch. And she'd sit there and whip out her oil paints, and she'd do paintings. Yeah, like that. So on feeling good, say, I want to picture what I want to have for my child. So what is it that you want for your child? What is it that you want for your child? And then hold that picture in your mind. Do you want them happy? Do you want them successful? Do you want them to have a true sense of well-being inside themselves? Whatever it is you want, picture that. When my son was 17, he came to me with a piece of paper and he said, "Mom, either you sign this or I'm going to do this anyway." And I looked at it, and it was a release for me to release him to the Marine Corps. And I swallowed hard, and because this is my worst fear, right? That he was going to go and get killed in Iraq. So I said, you know what? It took me 40 years to figure out what my dream was, and I'm not going to hold you back from yours. So I signed the paper. He was in the 1st Marine Expeditionary Force. They were in the first group that went through the streets of Iraq where they didn't know who the enemy was, and he was the human shield in front of all of his guys because he was that kind of guy. He was protecting everybody. And the whole time, before he left, he said, "Mom, I want you to promise me one thing." I said, "What, Mark?" He says, "That you will not worry about me." And I found a place inside myself where I could say yes, and I kept my promise. And I did not worry about him. And anytime a worry would come, I would just picture him coming home and giving me grandkids and being happily married. And I would just keep that picture in front of me. And he came home, got happily married, and got me some grandkids. Okay? So picture what it is that you want in your child's life, and just imagine it as if it is today, and hold on to it as if it is real right now. So I reparent myself. Reparenting yourself is looking at those things. It's those knee-jerk responses. Me just yelling at my son when he was 4. That was like, you know, that just, you don't even know what comes over you. You're just in this hypnotic trance, right? That knee-jerk response, that's the stuff that we need to examine. And that's where we need to go and, you know, see a counselor, talk to a trusted friend, maybe talk to your own parents and go, what happened to me at this age? Because usually when our children, it's the age of our children when things get triggered in us that it's triggering things in that age for us. So we can go to our parents and ask, you know, what happened to me at this age? Tell me what went on in my life at this age. So our real growth in parenting is giving to our children what our parents were not able to give to us. That's a big part of reparenting. So our parents really, truly, now I've been at this for almost 20 years, our parents truly did the best that they could. The best that they could, given who they were at the time. So when we actually examine their lives and ask them about their childhood, we get a lot more understanding about their own limitations. It's huge. And spend inner child time. Our inner child, we might have gotten older, but we didn't really grow up. There's still a little girl in here. There's still a little Lorraine inside of me. And I spend quite a bit of time with her. Especially as I keep expanding and expanding into all my fear levels. But when you feel that, you just ask your little inner child, what do you need from me right now? And usually my little girl says she just wants to crawl on my lap and just sit there. And she's usually just got her head buried right there. And she doesn't look at me, but I'm just there holding her while I'm doing my stuff, doing my thing. I'll check in with her from time to time. And then, you know, within an hour, sometimes it's a day or two, she's off playing with stuff and she doesn't need me anymore. But whatever that was, like when we feel insecure, when we feel angry, when we feel like we want to lash out at somebody, that's an inner child thing. It's never about the issue that we're dealing with now. It's about something else that happened before. Okay, and I already covered this a little bit, but I take care of me so I can take care of my family. Promise me? Everybody? Promise? Take care of you. So I just want to invite you right now to just take a couple minutes and just write 3 things in the margins or just come up with it in your mind if you don't have a pen, or share pens, that you can do now to take care of you. 3 things. When I get back home in North Dakota, I'm going to be giving a class on mom self-care. It's going to be really fun. And I just saw the promo for it today. It's at the Williston State College, and it shows this woman in a bubble bath. How many of you think that would sound scrumptious? So if that's one of them, write it down. So 3 things right now that you can do to take care of you. All right, pillar number 4. This is another one of my favorites. Can you tell a lot of these are my favorites? You know, actually, this 12 Secrets program is a distillation of my almost 20 years of working with families and kids. If you do these 12 things, you're golden. If you leave one out, you're not golden. It takes all 12. You can't do it on 11. You leave one out, you're going to be missing something huge. You need all 12 to be working simultaneously. So you see how this is such an adventure for us as parents. It's like, this ain't about the kid. This is about us, huh? Growing into this person who can manage all these 12 things. Okay. My child living their life's purpose. Don't you want your child to live their life's purpose? Why they came to this planet? What is that for them? So while they're in your house, you want to be fostering that inspiration. What is it that you love to do? What is it that you think about doing? What is it that you dream about doing? And just encourage that. Encourage that. And you talk about your dreams, because they're going to be gone soon. What are you going to do? That's why I hightailed it into my master's program. I'm like, my son's 14, I better get a life. So what is their life's purpose? And they might not know, and that's fine, but if they are safe and that they make wise decisions, that means they value themselves and they respect themselves enough that they will make wise choices about who they spend time with and what the activities that they do. So they're safe and they're happy, so that they value who they are inside, and there's just this inner core of value. Huge. These 12 secrets will do it. And confident. They need to be confident in this world, right? It's such an overcrowded world right now. They need those 3 components. So the first support beam, I call it, is I create my closeness criteria. So you want to build it now so that they will talk to you later. So something kind of instinctively kicked in with me when my son was 4, especially after I blew it, realized I'd blown it. I just was all about, Mark, what do you want to do? Do you want to talk about trucks? Do you want to talk about dinosaurs? Because I just knew there would be a day when he would be a teenager, if I could talk to him about these little things now, he'd be able to talk to me about the bigger things later. That nothing was too small to talk about. Okay, so apologize for your wrongs. This is big. I think there wasn't a week that went by that I didn't apologize to my son for my behavior. But it was important that I apologized. And you know what? He went on to be someone that was able to apologize instead of being prideful. So There was a family that I worked with in Hawaii, and she had a teenage girl who was doing horrible things to them, making up stories, getting them in trouble, getting the parents in trouble. And she came to me and she said, you know, I don't know what to do. And I just felt into it. And I just said, okay, why don't you try this? Just go for a walk with her. Like, they had been in the same house for a year and not talked, basically. They just sort of like rolled shoulders by each other. And it was devastating to her. So I said, go home, say you want to go for a walk with her. And when you go for a walk with her, you say this: what have I done wrong? And then you listen without being defensive to whatever it is that she said. Because when our children are at a standoff with us, it's not them, it's us. So you just, whatever it is, you apologize, and then you say, what can I do to make this up to you? And whatever it is, unless they say, buy me a Ferrari, that's not where we're going. But it might be, you know, I want you to sit and listen to me for hours. Or I want you to make me my favorite meal for a week. Or it could be some kind of penance, you know, let it happen. So anyway, right away, just this one little 15-minute walk changed everything in that relationship. And they began to have an open relationship again, and things started being able to talk and loosen up. So those two things, what have I done to make this happen, and what can I do to make it better? How can I make up for this? You know how it is when you're really mad at somebody? You wish that they would do something to make it better. You know, hearing that you're sorry is okay, but now I want to know that you really mean it. You know, so they might have something like that for you. So build trust toward your child and vice versa. So that means you always keeping your promises and expecting them to always keep their promises also. And build safety, a sense of safety in your child for you, and vice versa. That means don't say things to other people that they don't want you to say to other people. It means keeping your promise. When you say you're going to be there at a certain time, you're there at a certain time. Or you better have a really good reason. That will help them to be on time. I teach gratitude. Now, this is the skill that will set them apart in the 21st century. So few people have gratitude now, right? And gratitude is like the grease in the wheels. It's like grace. Okay, if you can teach your child to be grateful and thankful, wow, they might actually keep a job. And that happens by our example, right? So be thinking, what are a couple of ways that I can be more grateful? You know, we might complain about work. We might complain about the drivers while we're driving. We might complain about our spouse. We might even complain about, I see a couple people go, ah. We might complain about our other kids. We might even complain about our kids. That's not gratitude. So how can we be an example of that, a living example of that? And teach respect for self and others by, again, our example. Again, huge. If we can teach our kids that, respect and gratitude, they're so far head and shoulders above anybody else in the job market when they leave our house. Okay, number 3, and this is another big one. Zip it. This is the third component for your child living their life purpose. Because if we're always going, careful, watch it, see, I told you so. They're like, I'm afraid to move because you're going to like pick on me for something else. I can't breathe. I can't expand into who I am, right? So zip it. So the 3 things to keep out of your vocabulary are see, or I told you so, or careful, watch it. You know, let them climb the tree. Let them fall. Let them I'm sorry, but let them break their leg. Because if they climbed the tree, if they were adventurous enough to climb the tree, okay, you're not like, making fudge while they're climbing the tree. You're kind of standing there. But you don't want them to know that you're hawking on them, right? They've got to feel the freedom. They've got to feel the freedom. They've got to feel unself-conscious. There's no other way to do that than to be very stealth, like Sherlock Holmes. You got to be stealth, like that bomber that's not even picked up by radar. So that they can feel like they're able to expand under your roof. Because if they don't, if they feel that they cannot, they are gonna boomerang to the other side when they get their freedom. You don't want them to feel like they need freedom. You want them to feel like they have freedom in your house to explore who they are. You might have your guidelines and your rules, your family standards, but huge. And as an example, what were the things when you were growing up that you just were like at your parents for? That you just felt like you just couldn't move. There was like, be careful, watch out. It's like, what, don't you trust me? That's why the kids would report to me they wish their parents would trust them. So we've got to trust that inner voice within them so they can trust that inner voice within them. So what are a couple more things that you guys notice that you say that you should not say? We have see, I told you so, watch it, careful. What else?
Shut up.
Shut up.
Shut up. Oh, good one. Yes, okay.
It's so commonly used now. I mean, you just say it and you don't even realize it's
Yeah.
kind of derogatory almost. You say it and then you hear them say it in public and you're like, sorry.
Yeah.
Shut your mouth.
Yeah, shut your mouth. Oh, yes. Like those words just kind of go in my heart, right? So what other things should we zip it on?
Swear word.
Swear words. What are you doing? Good. What are you thinking? Good.
I hate that.
Yeah.
Even though I want to say it sometimes, but when I hear it, I'm like, oh.
Yeah. So I'm going to give you guys just a couple of minutes. I want you to turn to your partner and I want you to say a few things that you're doing well. Okay, because I know you guys are doing so many of these things. I didn't come here to beat you up. You're doing so many of these things. So tell your partner what you're doing well and 3 things that you would like to work on. Okay? And if you don't have a partner, let's find you one.
Things we're doing well. I gotta tell you something that I think.
Do we do it? Do you think that we're doing well, or that each other's doing well?
That you yourself are doing well.
So that you yourself.
I definitely am do what my child can do when I do. Because I always let them do whatever they need to do to get something.
Okay, if you haven't switched, then go ahead and switch. You've got about another minute and a half.
I need to go home for sure. But I mean, you know my dad, so it's different from me. No.
Was this encouraging? Did you guys find a lot of things you're already doing? Just need to polish up a few. That's it. As did I. So I wanted to invite Heather and Teresa to come up and just say a few words about how these 12 secrets have worked for them.
I just say, oh, it's good that we've got to talk before. And even though
You
I'm a
talking to
teacher,
us?
yeah, even though I'm a teacher, I get nervous. I'm kind of like this setup, but I'm okay. So I'm gonna try to be short, concise, and always sincere, because I just am. I'm gonna go back to my 9-year-old self, and being an amazing child, actually, a wonderful daughter, sister, and friend, and being an older sister, took care and babysat actually some of the neighborhood kids, and knowing full well I always going to work with kids. I went the route of pediatrician, couldn't handle blood, child psychology, and then I realized I love school. And believe you me, you do enough in psychology in the classroom that I found my place. So I don't know if any of you feel like this, but I had the farthest fall in this category called motherhood. So 10 years ago, and I might tear up, but don't worry, I'm okay. 10 years ago, I moved here, actually 11 years ago, but I moved here, and my sister was dying of cancer. My husband, we moved away from family, and my husband was training for a new job. And we had a little bit of financial distress too, which, forget that now because that's still around. But anyway, with that said, and me thinking that I had the farthest fall, right? I'm a good mom. My son was born 6 weeks before my sister died. And Robbie, my husband, was trained back east, and still family were in uproar. So I was kind of alone, but okay, and still a good mom. Had a newborn, a 1.5-year-old, and a 4-year-old. And Lorraine, I don't even know how, but I arrived at Resurrection Church, where she actually had the forum in the Marquee Hall, and she had this wonderful thing at that time, which totally feeds through who she is and how she is today. Affirmations, just simple affirmations. And there was some structure and systematic stuff too. It's wonderful. And still the wonderful, amazing Lorraine. And she just talked my talk. And so with that said, so at that time, around that time, I had 3 kids under the age of 5. My husband was still training or somewhere working. He's a wonderful husband and is around, he's just busy. And I was teaching here a bunch of students between kinder and 6. So this many years later, I am still kind of in that mode. However, going back to Lorraine, the affirmations that I still use today, on the first time I met her, I use in the classroom, I use it to myself, my inner child, and again, she talks my talk. Her intuitiveness, her intelligence, her integrity has been with me since then. So I follow her. She was in Hawaii, and she has this wonderful website through the years, and I wrote down my notes. And that's all along I've been using these Lorraineisms. So whether it's with my children or my students, or talking to Lorraine or talking to Teresa, or it'll just come out, but I'm like, that's my talk. But she's so much more articulate and skillful. And so that's kind of the journey to about a year ago. And again, back to my sincere self, full of integrity. And I'm okay, so if anything gets divulged, I'm good with it. I have had this huge journey with Lorraine, not only being my parent mentor and doing these 4 pillars, but also, and this is where, and it's all out of gratitude, she's been just a friend, a soul sister, a mentor, a therapist, just a good listener sometimes, or all the time. The journey that I've had in the last year, talk about delayering that little 9-year-old self. And all for what? Motherhood. So, and I'll wrap it up. So with that said, the journey with the 4 pillars and the one-on-one, and just kind of timeliness of who I am today at 43. I have a 14-year-old that doesn't roll her eyes and quiet or stomp away. She wants to have conversations with me.
Awesome.
Amazing and a beautiful soul. And my 11-year-old, who overachiever, packs her schedule so much, we know them, that she will slow down and decide, you know what, today I'm going to be home. And she has dealt with some social issues. She's very open and big-hearted, and she's dealt with some really extreme social issues that might carry out in her adulthood. I know the strength that child will bring with her. And then my 9-year-old that just turned 10, closest to the source. We listen to that baby of the family. The things he has to say during family meetings, it's like, we listen. And we are blessed and grateful. And so to my sister, my mentor, my friend, I thank you. And it's really, no matter what you take away tonight, it's a beautiful thing. Yeah.
Thank you, Heather. Thank you, sweetie.
Lorraine brings the tears out in us. You learned a little bit about me earlier. My experience with Lorraine is very similar to Heather's. I think it's an experience that everyone eventually shares in if they take that journey with her. Like I said, my first daughter was 3 years old when I first came about Lorraine, and I took to heart her encouraging words that your children are in your home for the opportunity to raise them the way you want to see them in the world, only for a short period of time. And that stuck with me with slight fear and anxiety, because I knew I had a lot of work ahead of me that I had to do if I was going to help these children to be successful in their home and in, their world. So what is 6, 18, 12, right, 12? I had 12 years left at that point. And I better start working on it, because that time goes quickly, as she's now 14 and my youngest is 11 on, this Sunday. Both beautiful girls that have a compassion and a respect and a self-confidence and a self-worth. And just as my good friend in the back said to me earlier, your girls are grateful. They show respect. She's so funny. You could teach this class. I said, I learned it from Lorraine. I go to her, she taught me, and now I can hopefully help others to know the true meaning of what being a parent is all about. It's not just putting your little toe in, it's stepping fully into this role and taking it seriously, because we only have that short window of time. It doesn't always flow easily. There's always bumps in the road. Having a 14-year-old right now, I'm at a completely different level than I was when she was 3. Heather and I can relate to that. Our daughters are good friends, just as we are. And we talked some time ago about forming a mom's group and how we were going to get together and support all these concerns that everyone has in their own world and bring them together, and let's not feel alone, right? But Lorraine's done that for us. It was just almost a year ago, that we might be celebrating the 12 secrets to safe and confident children that we joined in with Lorraine. She's been a mentor in our life, a friend, confidence, but actually stepping in and saying, okay, I'm a devoted parent and I need this. Heather and I attended another one of these seminars just over at Aptos Times almost a year ago, and we said, okay, we're doing it. It's the best decision I've made in my life. I'm able to help my husband, even though I might be the one person that sets that precedence. We all have different strengths and weaknesses in our family. We can't expect your spouse to be this or you to be that. You just bring forth what you can. and then you share what you learn in hopes, by example, your kids are learning, your spouse is learning, you're learning, and together we're just building that village of, inspired children to become the best they can be. And she's helped me in all aspects of my life, and I'm truly grateful. I hope one day that I might travel the world with her and be able to share the same types of
I'd love that
support
too.
her. No, because if she's one person in my life that's wanted me to aspire to be somebody like her, she is that one person. So whatever you decide in your life, know that your children are number one, that you are number one, and your spouse or your family is number one, and all together we can make it work.
Thank you, Teresa. Aw, sweetie. Well, that was more than I bargained for. I wanted to just end with the cherry to my story that I started with earlier. I'd been living in Hawaii for 6 years, and I was considering moving back to the mainland, and this was last spring. And it was like, the biggest gift I could have received when my son said to me on the phone, "Mom, I would love nothing more than for you to come and be a part of my family in North Dakota." And so I did. And now I get to spend every day with my grandchildren and with my son. And like I said, it's still been a journey, but that's what I want for you. And so I know I can make good on that, who want to be with you when they no longer have to be. He's 34, he's successful, he's happily married. They're so in love after 10 years. They're gonna have their 4th baby. Just found out she's 6 weeks pregnant. And he wanted me to be in their lives because of these 12 secrets. If I had left one of them out, you need all 12. And it helps to have coaching with it. So you might have some questions after this week. And so I'm going to have a free Q&A that we're going to do together on the phone. If you would give me your email address on the next page, your name and your email address and your phone number in case I can't read your email address, where I can answer any of the questions that you would like after you've had a week to percolate with this. We're going to have a class, or not a class, but a Q&A a week from tonight at the same time. I thought that would be easy to remember. 6:30 Pacific, I'll be in North Dakota. It'll be 8:30 my time. But would you like that? And just bring your questions. You can bring your friends. It's just, a time to just, well, what about this? Well, what about this? Well, what about this? So that's the first gift I have to you. I'm going to also, for those of you who fill out the form, I'm going to have a drawing for a complimentary consultation with me where we can find out, well, pretty much anything you want, like where your kids are right now with the 12 secrets to safe, happy, and confident kids, and what you might be able to do to make it work, and also to see if some of my services might be a fit for you, but without any pressure, only presence. Do you know what I mean by that? And then the third thing is we're going to, oh yeah, there's a spot to check if you would like to learn more about the 12 Secrets program. So we'll have a chat about that. So that's it. Has this been helpful? Thank you, Teresa. Thank you. Thank you. It's been a pleasure being here, and I appreciate that you took your time away from your families, which you need to do as a parent. You have to take time away from your family to learn how to be a parent. All leaders must do this. So I applaud you for doing that tonight, making time for you. So if you would fill out that form, and Heather and Teresa are going to collect them, just fold them in half, and yes, do we have extra pens? Does anybody have a pen? Oh, great. And just check that if you'd like to know more about the 12 Secrets program. It honestly works. And thanks again so much.
Thank you.